Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Chelmsford Tonight. I'm Karen Woodrow, owner of Visiting Angels Senior Home Care right here in Chelmsford, and I'll be your host. Tonight, joining me is Peter Sebelius. Peter is the president of the Learning in Retirement Association, also known as LIRA. Okay, Pete, you got me a little confused here. The name of your organization is sort of an oxymoron, Learning in Retirement. I thought retirement was all about kicking back, traveling, playing a little golf, but I think that you have some other ideas for other retirees in our community. Why don't you tell us about LIRA?
Well, we do that. A lot of people travel and kick back and relax, but we also are interested in the world around us, and it's a social organization, so we get together and meet and swap stories and listen to lectures and go on field trips and assorted activities.
So where do these lectures happen? I think you have a relationship with UMass Lowell?
Yes, we have an agreement with UMass Lowell. They handle our finances. They provide us a space to meet in and a space for our classes. We have an agreement with them where we give scholarships every year to 5 to 6 seniors at UMass Lowell.
Wow, that's great. So now, how do I become part of this program? Do I need an education? Do I have to prove that I've graduated from high school or I have a PhD to be part of LIRA?
No, there are no requirements at all. You don't even have to be retired.
Oh, perfect.
The only thing is you have to be available to go to class during the day, because that's when our classes are. But even then, we record most of them now on Zoom, so you can attend them anytime you want.
Wow, that's great. So we've all been reading about the skyrocketing costs of tuition for our poor college students. So is it going to break the bank for me to be part of LIRA?
No. For a couple to join is $200 for a year. A single person is $125. That gets you access to as many classes as you'd like to attend, or as few as you'd like to attend.
And how many classes do you offer in a semester?
We have 4 semesters a year. Fall and spring are our class semesters, where we have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 2 morning and afternoon classes, and Wednesday we do a morning class, and that's during the fall and the spring. In the winter, we have what's called intercession. We do 1 class a week, and we invite members of the greater community to come and try us out, see if they like LIRA.
Oh, that's great. And who's teaching these classes? Is it professors from?
We have a mix of people. We have UMass Lowell professors, we have members teaching classes, and we have people coming in from outside to teach classes.
Yeah, I noticed you had Jonathan Lemire.
Yes, we did.
Oh, that must have been fun.
His mom is a member.
Oh, yay, Mom!
We also had his brother who does sports come in and talk to us as well.
That's great. So I assume there's a semester starting again in January?
Yes, there is. It's our intercession.
Okay, so tell me so I don't need any kind of prior education to attend, and it's going to cost me and my husband $200, and we're going to sign up for classes. What can we pick from starting in January?
Well, in January we only have 8 weeks of classes. There's still assembling the list. I was hoping you'd ask me what we did in the fall, because those were just finishing up.
All right, tell us what you did in the fall.
Okay.
What did I miss?
We had professors of history. We had 4 different history professors at UMass Lowell come and give us classes on the history of women, the mill girl life, the dark side of mill girl life. We had one of our members' husbands, a professor in the science department there, and he talked about the history of the universe. We also
and you crammed that into that little class?
In a 2-hour class, right? 4 2-hour sessions. We also had classes on understanding the U.S. government, and we had a guy come in from New Hampshire. He's an expert on rock walls, and he gave us a history of New England rock walls while building a miniature wall in the class.
Wow, that sounds great. So tell me, are the classes in person now?
We're doing both hybrid classes, in person and on Zoom, and Zoom-only classes. The only really difference is if the lecturer is in the classroom at University Suites in Lowell, we call it a hybrid class. If they're not, if they're coming in on Zoom, then it'll be a Zoom-only class.
Okay.
Even though you can go anywhere to see it.
I think we have a picture up there of one of the Zoom classes being taught.
Professor Bob Pariseau, yes.
All right. right, great.
And he's one of our favorite lecturers. He's a history professor at UMass Lowell and has given numerous lectures over the years to us.
So in addition to classes, I understand there's a book club and a film discussion group, and you go on excursions?
We do.
Want to tell us about one of the field trips that you did? I think we got a picture of one of them. What do you got?
I don't see it yet, but I think the one that you picked was an excursion to the Constitution. And it was interesting because I'd given a lecture on the history of the first 6 ships of the United States Navy.
From your experience in the Navy.
And the Constitution is one of those 6 ships, and still on active duty. So we had a talk for 2 hours about the Constitution, and then we went to visit it and the Constitution Museum down at the Charleston Navy Yard.
Oh, that sounds like great. That's just we're traveling in retirement. Perfect.
Yeah.
That sounds good. And I love the fact that you guys that you pay it forward, that you get to do scholars. Oh, we got some pictures of other field trips.
Oh, yes. That's,
Tell us what we're
I
looking
think
at.
the New England Quilt Museum on the left and on the right as well. That's in Lowell. I'm absolutely amazed at the number of museums and places to visit in New England. I never really paid that much attention to it, but there are so many museums and great places to visit. And we go within an hour's drive of where we are here.
I know, this is a great place to live. And I just wanted to touch on the fact that you that your group pays it forward, that you give scholarships to deserving juniors and seniors at UMass Lowell.
That's correct.
I think that's really great.
We'll be doing that in our holiday party in December. And we'll also be collecting donations for Community Teamwork, Inc. and raising money for our scholarship program.
Okay, that sounds like a really worthy cause. I have a son in college. We went to visit him for a family weekend, and the university had classes for the parents one day, and I can't tell you how great it was to sit in a college classroom and listen and learn. So I think we should all strive to be lifelong learners, and thank you so much to Pete and Lyra for making that possible for our community.
All right, well, thank you for having me on.
Thanks for being with us, Pete. Here's how to find out more about Lyra, and we'll be right back after this break.
The minutes tick by slowly. The lectures are all the same as years before. Maybe not exactly, but the gist of them are. They create one big horror story about America before the evaluators came around and fixed everything. Whether the lecture is about religious crusades, flooded cities, mass shootings, farm factories and transportation methods polluting the earth, or broken families, the story is all meant to make the same point. The world was a mess, and now it's better, well on its way to perfection.
That was Kira Scott reading from her first ever novel, Section 22, a young adult love story set in the not-too-distant dystopian future. Kira Scott, welcome to Chelmsford Tonight.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, all right, before we go on and talk about you being a novelist and this fabulous series that you've written, let's talk a little bit about your involvement here at Chelmsford TV. I think that you're a little bit more used to being in the control room than you are here in front of the camera.
Definitely more used to the control room than here. Let's see, I started volunteering here when I was a sophomore in high school. I was homeschooled, so the program at the high school was out, so I came and actually worked here with some of the lovely people that I've met over the course of the years. Mostly spend time in the control room, behind the cameras. Haven't done anything in front of the cameras before.
Okay, well, welcome. We're happy to have you here. So let's go back to the words that we just heard from you. The world was a mess, and now it's better, well on the way to perfection. You have set us up for that classic young adult dystopian novel. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your book?
Okay. I started writing the first version of that a number of years ago. It It was based on the idea of environmental control and how scary the world can seem to be going sometimes, and just that question of what if we pushed it too far? What if, everything went really badly and, you don't have the same luxuries you have anymore, and, if the water level rises, what happens to cities like Los Angeles or New York that are very close to, the sea right now? And, or, worse is Florida, which they have, I don't know if you've ever looked this up, they have maps of what they think the world could look like in X number of years, and Florida is just gone. And so I was thinking, what would happen if you took that world and, what would happen to society at that point? So I was playing with that idea, what might someone do to fix this? And of course, it's a dystopia, so you expect that they're going to try, and it's not going to work because there isn't a perfect answer. And you have people who are on top making rules and regulations with the intention of preserving humanity so that we don't all overuse the resources and we can continue to survive. That was my basic start. And of course, I had a couple characters in my head that I wanted to share with the world and give a voice to. When I started, I didn't know much else besides that and the couple main characters in the story.
Well, that sounds great. So even though it says, how far would you go for love on the cover, it sounds like there's a great sort of current event context and makes us all think about the future. So I have to ask you, why this genre? Why the dystopian novel?
Honestly, that's just what came to me at the time. I grew up on books like Hunger Games, Divergent, Delirium. Those were large part of my high school reading material, and I loved those stories. I really like all dystopian. I like fantasy, that idea of technology or magic that doesn't exist in our world, or taking people to a completely different world to explore. I'm what we call in the writing community a plotter, which means I plan out everything before I start writing, and world building is one of my favorite pieces of writing.
That's great. So I'm in a parent-child book club with my high school-age son, Spike, and we've been in this for a long time, and I have to say that as they reached their middle school years, we started reading a lot of dystopian novels, and the kids really, the boys in the group don't love the romance so much, but the badass heroes, the courage, the self-sacrifice, they really, they're at a point where they're making difficult choices in their lives, and I think that your kind of novel really addresses that. So you are from Chelmsford, you're our homegrown writer. Tell us a little bit about growing up here and how that influenced your writing.
Well, I've lived here my whole life. I've never lived outside of Chelmsford, so I can't compare it to anywhere else necessarily.
It's your own dystopian world.
I can say it did not inspire the dystopian world. The story is actually set in California, where near where my grandmother lives. So it was definitely interesting being New England grown and thinking. I remember visiting her and looking around and being like, oh, houses out here aren't made of the same material that they're made of in Chelmsford. Like, we don't have that same look. I think growing up here was lovely. It's a great town. I don't know exactly how much it's inspired my writing so far. I love the New England foliage and stuff. I definitely plan to write things that actually involve, having more trees and that general New England look, because I think it's really beautiful here. And I did kind of miss that in writing a story that took place somewhere else.
Well, that's okay. We'll try something. We can go to Lyra and learn about the walls, and that'd be great.
Sounds fascinating.
That'd be great. So, how did you decide to become a writer? I read on your website, kirascott.com. I was reading a little bit about you, and one of my favorite things that you said is that your homeschooling parents used to read to you, and they were your own personal audiobooks. And as a parent, I still read to my child, and I really love it, and I love being considered a personal audiobook. So what made you decide to become a writer?
I've always loved books. I didn't always love writing them, but I always loved listening to them and reading them later. My parents definitely encouraged that. It was one of those things my mom would say that, no matter what she was doing or in the middle of, if I came to her with a book, she'd stop and read to me. So I grew up with an absolute love of stories. I'd always make things up in my head. Long car trips, any kind of thing I wasn't interested in doing or wasn't using my brain enough, I would be coming up with a story in my head. My actual writing started when my mom decided when I started high school that I had to start writing things. She said, I don't care what it is, but you have to actually write.
Thanks, Mom.
And I started my first story. It was horrible, like everybody's first version of their first story ever is. And I never stopped. I fell in love with writing. I figured out finally how to get the words from my brain to the page, and I really enjoyed it and never wanted to go back.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad that happened because we got to enjoy your characters in here. So you are self-published, I believe?
Yes.
All right, so tell me, that is huge. That's probably harder than writing the book. Tell me, what's been the response to your books?
The response has been very positive. I haven't done a tremendous amount of trying to push it because I'm waiting for the other books to come, or the last book to come out. So right now I have the first one, I have a novella, and the second one, and the third one will be coming out this in spring of 2022.
Oh, I was wondering why the story of Scars was considered 1.5 and not 2. Now I see.
It's tiny in comparison. So there's this book, I don't know if you can see it. This one is actually only available on ebook, which is why it has this lovely stripe. This isn't a real, real published book on
So Second
print.
Chances is just the second
And this is the second book.
And then we've got a third one coming out. When's that going to be out?
My current plan is April 2022.
Okay,
I
great.
still have to get it back from editors and get the cover designed and all that part, but that's my current idea.
All right, it gives us something to look forward to. Now, you can't judge a book by its cover. However, I think we have a picture of your 3 books together. Can we show that, Pete? So I love these covers. It's a picture of a young adult looking out into their future, ready to face the challenges, and I just thought that was an amazing way to represent the Section 22 series. Will the new book have a similar theme?
I assume so. I haven't gotten concepts back from a cover designer yet. I'm going to be doing that probably the beginning of 2022. My cover designer is amazing. I just give them a synopsis and some locations, descriptions of the people and what's going on, and they've come up with some very beautiful designs that I'm so happy with. I think they're great, and I could never design a cover like this. Not my forte.
Well, I'm glad that you're writing the words behind the cover. Thank you so much for being with us, Kira. Check out Kira Scott's trilogy, Section 22. It's available on Amazon and through her website, kirascott.com. We'll be right back after these messages. Thank you.
Show number 2, y'all ready? Glad to be here, Lord. Folks, nice to see you. Glad you made it. Open up, baby, if you love a ball, man, that's a knock in. I want everybody that could you join son there, rockin'. I'm gonna get your Bobby shoes on. Hold the jukebox, close the view. Have you heard the news? Everybody rockin'. Have you heard the news?
Welcome back. For over 100 years, this landmark building on North Road served as Chelmsford's town hall, but we all now fondly refer to it as the Chelmsford Center for the Arts. Joining me tonight is Susan Gates, Executive Director of CCA. Welcome to the show, Susan.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to see you again.
I know, I'm happy to see you too. All right, so during the pandemic, the arts for us was plopped on the couch, surrounded by our pod, watching Netflix. And I know that I personally missed being exposed to the arts, like in person, the brush strokes on the canvas, really seeing the dimension, feeling the rhythm of the music through the floor as you're watching a concert. And I think I'm happy to report that the CCA is now open for business.
We are. We're taking it step by step. We're not open for rental, for example, for outside things, because that's just too much for us right now. But we decided once we could bring anybody back in, because at first we closed on March 13th of, what year was it? 2020? We have that gap in our minds, right, because of the pandemic. But we closed on March 13th, and no one was everybody stayed home. Then the technical director and I started coming back, and we talked about how could we use the TriCaster, because we can do 3-camera shoots from our auditorium. How could we use that to bring the arts to people? And the Chelmsford Art Society has meetings where they have demos. So we started out with them doing their demos in our auditorium, and then they went up on a YouTube through Chelmsford Art Society, and they actually met people in Chelmsford, England, who were artists who could watch the demos then, from there. So we were doing that just like we're here today, and there's only a few people in this room, right? We did the same thing to bring certain things out into the community, even though people couldn't come into the auditorium.
So that's great. I'm glad to hear you were still operating. But
well, it was a little bit.
A little bit. All right. All right.
And then we started doing some live music where it was 1 to 4 musicians, because at the beginning there was no vaccine. And so everybody was masked, and we had to position people 10 feet apart, and we had some concerts that people could watch on our YouTube channel, but still no audience. Then the months went by, and in just this past summer, in beginning of August, we started trying it where we did the small 1 to 4 people on stage, and we allowed them to invite up to 10 people to come to the theater, and they had to be vaccinated and masked, and then they could spread out. So we got people used to the idea of that, and in the meantime, I booked the rest of the season, and we opened up on the 18th of September. We're selling tickets. Our website is chelmsfordarts.org. Everyone who comes in has to show a vaccine certificate and wear a mask. And that's what all the theaters are doing in Boston. I mean, every theater that I know of, every venue operator I've talked to, they're all doing the same thing.
Right.
So we're trying to keep people as safe as possible and still be able to have live performances.
That's great. I know you have 2 upcoming shows. One is Baron Ryan, a pianist.
Baron is in May 7th, and he's a fabulous artist. I don't know if you have video of him or not.
We do have a clip of him.
That he could roll. But he is, he's young, he's from Oklahoma. He does a show called From Classic to Cool. And he's very engaging. I haven't met him in person, but I have attended some of his streamed concerts where he speaks to the audience, and he's amazing.
In a world of seemingly endless entertainment options, one man.
My name is Baron Ryan.
A pianist from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I already know what you're thinking, and the answer is yes, we do have pianos there.
Is rewriting the rules for piano concerts. Performing arts presenters have praised his shows as highly entertaining, technically amazing, and richly felt, and proclaimed that our audience was raving about him the entire week. One concert goer put it this way: his socks alone are worth the price of admission.
Thank you, Susan. It was really great to talk to you. I know there's a lot more going on at the CCA, and hopefully we'll have you back again.
Yeah, so thank you. And I just want everybody to please go to chelmsfordarts.org because you can find out more about what's going on.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Karen.
Thank you. So that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for joining me on Chelmsford Tonight. Thanks to my camera crew. We got John on camera 1, Bob on camera 2, Karen on camera 3, and of course, Pete Pedulla up in the control room directing us all. So I'm Karen Woodrow. We'll see you here in 2 weeks. It's been a great night. Thanks for sharing a little bit of your evening with us. Good night, everybody.